Opening into a flashback to the Panam Stam Civil War, the land is destroyed, smoke covers the sky, and death is everywhere. From inside a helicopter, Jason, the leader of the Mad Dogs unit, watches the battlefield below. There's a soldier on the ground who is tied to a truck. Rebels are dragging and torturing him. Everybody on the team sees this, yet Jason still receives orders to retreat and return to base. But he chooses to ignore the orders. He leads his team down into the war zone to rescue that remaining survivor. Burned vehicles and scattered bodies, they finally reach the wounded soldier near a crashed vehicle. Jason and his men move in to help, but it's a trap. A rebel detonates a truck nearby. The explosion rips through the area and throws everything into chaos. That night, we see captured soldiers held upside down by the rebels. They're tied up and are being brutally tortured. Some are already dead. And then we see somebody trapped beneath the debris. Somebody is watching this all happen. Suddenly, one of the dead prisoners opens his eyes. It's a zombie. 6 years later, in a UN refugee camp in the Panam Stam Republic, Claire Redfield tries to talk to a boy who is one of the survivors of the Civil War, the same boy who was trapped under the debris. He doesn't say a word, and somebody tells Claire that he is mute. She begins looking through his sketchbook, and she sees a terrible drawing. It shows men who look like zombies fighting one another. The boy was traumatized. Meanwhile, in the United States, 3 Secret Service officers wait inside the White House to meet the president. Leon is also flying in a helicopter on his way there. He is part of this team with Jason, Shenmei, and Patrick. To this, Jason tells Patrick that luck does not matter in their work, only skill. After some time, the team arrives and meets with the president and the Secretary of Defense, Wilson. They're meeting because somebody tried to hack into the government's computers. The hackers bypassed the special code needed to access secret files at the Pentagon, and Wilson suspects that China was behind the attack, saying they've been waging cyber war against the US for years. But the president warns against jumping to conclusions, because accusing China too soon could harm the country's relations. But all of a sudden, the lights go out. Darkness spreads everywhere. It feels unnatural, especially in the president's office, and the emergency systems don't turn on as they should. So, the 3 special agents step outside to find the cause. They split up and search in different directions while also protecting the president on the way to the bunker. Soon, Patrick finds Spacer, the press secretary. He looks like he was hit from behind when the lights went out. Before he collapses, Patrick notices that Spacer might be going into cardiac arrest, and he rushes to get the AED. But before Patrick can give first aid, Spacer suddenly rises again, and he is turned into a zombie. He moves with a strange and terrifying power. Patrick fights a zombie for the first time, trying to shoot but not knowing where to aim. And just when it seems Patrick's going to be bitten, Leon arrives and shoots the zombie in the head. He warns Patrick to always aim for the head. After that, Leon and Patrick regroup with the others and they reach the bunker safely. Here they decide that Patrick is going to stay with the president while Jason, Shenmei, and Leon go back to investigate. Outside, they find more zombies and kill them one by one to secure the area. The next morning, Jason and Leon talk about what might have caused the attack while the White House is being cleaned. But the big question remains, who could do such a thing in a place this secure? Downstairs, Claire arrives. She was going to meet with Spacer, the press secretary who turned into a zombie last night. Of course, she is told that he's not here. Then she sees Leon walking by, and they're both surprised to see each other. Claire tells him that she's there with reps from the provisional government of Panam Stam. They're asking for help to build schools and hospitals as the Civil War has destroyed the entire country. But then she shows Leon the picture she found, the one that the boy drew. The image of the Civil War in Panam Stam 6 years ago. It instantly reminds them of Raccoon City. But before Leon can say what he thinks, Jason tells him to hurry. Before leaving, Leon warns Claire not to get in trouble. At this, Claire smiles and says that his outfit doesn't suit him at all. In the Oval Office, Wilson steps forward with urgent news about a bio-research facility in Shanghai. He suspects that the attack that they just survived is linked to that facility, saying that it needs to be investigated. However, Ryan, the president's chief of staff, isn't sure that sending a team to Shanghai is the right move. But Wilson argues harder, saying that they have to act now, otherwise it'll be too late. The president listens to them both, and after some heavy thought, he makes a decision. He authorizes the mission to send operatives to Shanghai and find the truth. The following day, Jason, Shenmei, and Leon prepare for the mission. They board a submarine that's going to take them into Chinese waters. Jason tells them where they're going and that their goal is to investigate the hacking and the zombie attack at the White House. Leon doesn't understand why they actually need to go there though, asking why they can't just hack the facility back. But Jason gives a short answer. It's classified. When Leon asks more, Jason only replies, classified. 3 times in a row, Leon gets the same answer. Jason gets up to leave, so Leon sits down with Shen Mei, immediately asking her out on a date after all of this is done. She says sure, but that she's got a young man waiting for her. Leon presses further, but she smiles and says it's classified. Eventually, Leon himself would leave. Soon he passes by Jason, who was injecting himself with a needle. He looks tense and troubled, but Leon doesn't ask any questions, choosing to let him keep it to himself. We then see the same flashback from before. However, this time the zombie attack breaks out fully. The rebels are torn apart, and the boy trapped under the rocks watches in horror as the dead slaughter the living. Moving on, seeing a car pull up to a house, a man steps out and enters with a paper bag in hand. Inside, he sees something and gets so shocked that he drops it. It was filled with mysterious injectors, similar to the one that Jason was using earlier. Leon's voice echoes, calling Jason's name, and he wakes up suddenly drenched in sweat, realizing it was all a dream. Leon tries to get him to open up about his traumas, but Jason keeps his feelings to himself. The scene shifts to Claire. She's working late. She learns that during the Pan-Am Civil War, the US military stepped in before the UN could even act. She watches a video where 2 reporters argue, saying that the US only invaded Pan-Am to get closer to China. Claire would continue her research, looking into the Mad Dogs unit. They returned as heroes after the war, but 4 of the 6 members have committed suicide since then. Jason was their leader. Entering the same flashback from before, we see that this time the Mad Dogs survived the helicopter explosion and they rescued the soldier that was trapped under the wreckage. Finding cover inside a building, they tried to contact their base. Still in a flashback, the team talks about how lucky they were to survive, but something feels wrong. A little ahead in flashback, a body bag lies on a table. It wriggles and makes zombie noises. Just then, as the team is arguing, Shen Mei rushes into the tent. She discovers the moving body bag there, but that is when we cut back to the present. Shen Mei is standing in front of a mirror and she opens up her neck locket to look inside at a photo. This is somebody named Jun Si, and he's the same soldier that the Mad Dogs pulled from under the helicopter in the flashback. Elsewhere on the submarine, Jason finally opens up to Leon, saying that he keeps having the same nightmares about that day in Pan Am. Leon listens and tries to relate, telling Jason about the horrors he experienced in Raccoon City. Zombies, blood, chaos. Surprisingly, Jason says he supports the government's decision to blow up Raccoon City, believing it saved the country in the long run. However, Leon disagrees. He thinks more could have been done to save survivors. But as they talk about fear and terror, the submarine is suddenly hit by something. The 2 rush to check and find semen on the deck, full of blood. They'd been attacked by somebody, and they're dead. Panic spreads and they both run in opposite directions to find the attackers. On the way, Leon finds the corpse of another sailor, while Jason meets up with Shen Mei in a compartment of the submarine where other seamen are also present. They order the submariners to seal off the compartments as contamination is spreading, but after they do so, Jason and Shen Mei quickly kill them. As Leon moves through the submarine, he's attacked by an infected rat, and soon he sees a multitude of rats crawling out of corpses. Just then, the submarine's self-destruct alarm goes off. Leon needs to hurry. Thinking fast, he strikes a water pipe. The rats run onto the water. He acts as a circuit box, conducting the electricity, thereby frying the rats while he himself climbs onto a safe spot. After that, Leon reaches the room where the bubbleheads were massacred. He tries to open the escape pod, and when he succeeds, he sees that Shen Mei and Jason are already there. Leon understands that they planned this all along, but Jason lowers Shen Mei's gun, saying that Leon will kill them all, so let him in. They arrive at a safe house in Shanghai to restock and prep. Leon notices Shen Mei's knife and sees that it has fresh blood on the blade. This raises his suspicion. Leon sits with Jason and asks him to explain what's really happening. He wants to know why they killed the submarine crew and destroyed the sub. Jason hesitates, but then he reveals the truth. He and Shen Mei are on a secret mission to find the evidence of a conspiracy aimed at bringing down the US government. Jason asks Leon to join them, but Leon refuses, thinking that this is treason. Tensions rise, and the room becomes silent. Jason moves first, grabbing his iron, but Leon is faster, shooting him straight through the heart. Shen Mei fires several shots at Leon, but he reacts quickly and saves himself. When he gets up to look for Shen Mei, he sees that she's already fled. Meanwhile, Claire, following her leads, visits the old house from Jason's nightmare. She explores the dark, empty rooms and finds the injectors Jason left behind. But then, she sees what Jason saw, a dead body sitting on a chair. Back in Shanghai, Shen Mei arrives at her family's home. Inside, she meets her grandfather. He's taking care of somebody lying in a bed behind curtains. Suddenly, Leon breaks in. He followed her there, and now he's demanding answers. so Shenmei starts to tell him everything. The soldier the Mad Dogs rescued was Junsi, Shenmei's younger brother. We also learn that Shenmei was in the army serving at the same station during the Panam Stam operation. She overheard Wilson ordering a bomb to be dropped on the area to clear it out. One officer argued that their men were still there, but Wilson insisted. After the bomb was dropped, we know that the Mad Dogs lived and tried to contact base, and Shenmei heard their last transmissions, that they had a survivor named Junsi. He needed immediate medical attention. She rushes to the site, but finds her brother inside the body bag. He'd already turned. Back in the present, Shenmei tells Leon that Wilson was working with a secret pharmaceutical company. Together they produced military bioweapons and tested them in Panam Stam during the war. While this is happening, Claire calls the police after finding the dead body and continues her investigation. She discovers a picture of the Mad Dogs team. Behind the photo frame, Claire finds a piece of paper tucked in. She pulls it out and begins to read. In a flashback, after saving Junsi, the team was planning their next move, but they were attacked by a horde of zombies. They fought back bravely, but each member was bitten. An injured Junsi knew what the results of these bites would be, so he told the team to use the injection inhibitors that were in his bag. These injections would stop them from turning into zombies. Despite those being the last of his inhibitors, Junsi sacrificed himself and gave it to the others. Back in the present, Shenmei explains that Jason learned about the bomb dropped on them. He refused to turn Junsi over to the government. Instead, he secretly smuggled him back to his family in Shanghai. After that, Jason and his unit returned to base, where they were welcomed as heroes of Panam Stam. Now, in order to stay human, they had to keep on taking their inhibitors, injections that Wilson would keep supplying them as long as they carried out secret missions for him, which, as a result, helped him climb the political ladder. However, over time, team members began to commit suicide instead of continuing those illegal covert ops for Wilson. Here, Leon realizes that Wilson was the one who was actually behind the White House attack. He forced Jason to plan the zombie outbreak by releasing the virus in the White House. Wilson also made Jason destroy the submarine to make it look like China was the one responsible. He wanted to make the US fight with China so that his bioweapons could be sold in the market during the war. Shenmei's grandfather chimes in, telling Leon that he spent his whole life and all of his money trying to undo the virus's damage on Junsi, but his condition was irreversible. The virus had taken over completely, causing horrific effects. Jason and Shenmei's plans were to find proof and expose what Wilson was really doing, and finally, after 6 years, they found that evidence. You see, every bioweapon soldier has a chip in their body that records vital and combat data. Jason believes that if they make this information public, it will reveal Wilson and stop the bioweapon development. But as they're talking, suddenly a bomb explodes. The ceiling and walls collapse around them. Leon pulls Shenmei with him to escape, but her grandfather stays behind, choosing death with his grandson. Back at the White House, Ryan, Wilson, and the president discuss an upcoming speech, one that was curated by Wilson. The speech contains harsh words against China, blaming them for what happened to the submarine. Ryan worries that the speech could damage US-Chinese relations, but Wilson instigates. He reminds them of everything that China's done. He says that the US needs a strong military foothold in Panam Stam to keep China in check. Downstairs, Claire arrives in the White House. She wants to talk to Wilson to question him about the Mad Dogs unit. She shows him a note that she found. It's the soldier's explanation for his suicide. But Wilson refuses to talk. He ignores her and goes away. But now he's on to her. Meanwhile, Leon and Shenmei escape the house safely. They have the chip that Shenmei wants to use to expose the truth. However, Leon knows the government will do anything to hunt them down and silence them. But then Leon starts thinking about his conversation with Jason, where he perseverated about fear. It clicks. Jason doesn't want justice, he wants the world to witness true horror, the terror that he and his men lived through. Back in the US, Claire is still piecing together things in her room, but out of nowhere, the lights go out. She immediately knows that someone is coming to attack her, so she hides behind the door. When the man enters, she attacks him, but he didn't come alone. Someone else tases her from behind, leaving her unconscious. Picking up with the president, he prepares for his upcoming speech. Patrick is close by, and his phone rings. It's Leon, who warns him about everything, emphasizing Wilson's crimes. He tells Patrick to inform the president to stop the speech against China. The story continues with Claire waking up in a tied chair. She's inside of a large facility. Around her, bioweapons rest inside of huge glass containers. But before her, Wilson stands and he admits to kidnapping her because she was getting too close to the truth about what he's been doing. He gives her a choice. Stop her investigation and he'll fund the hospitals and the schools in Panam Stam like she had initially come to the White House for, but if she refuses, he'll just kill her. It's that simple. Wilson continues that he wants the president to take a hard stand against China, allowing the US military to move into Panamstam. There he could test his bioweapons freely. Once proven effective, he would sell them to governments, giving them zombie super soldiers. But Wilson would also sell them the inhibitors needed to control the virus. It's all for profit. Wilson also has a backup for Claire. When Claire resists and headbutts him, he decides he's going to infect her with the virus instead and force her to depend on the inhibitors forever. But that is when Jason appears. The virus had kept him alive even after being shot by Leon. Elsewhere in the facility, Leon and Shenmei arrive. Jason had previously told Shenmei about Wilson's lab, so she knew that Jason would come here. Wilson thinks that Jason returned to him out of loyalty. However, Jason has other intentions. He lets the virus take over his body, refusing any more of Wilson's inhibitors or orders. Right in front of him, he transforms. His body grows larger, his face becomes monstrous. Then, he attacks Wilson, biting him, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Just then, like back in Degeneration, the facility detects a rogue bioweapon, and the security protocol activates. Acid floods in. One by one, the other bioweapons fall into it and are destroyed. The system wants Jason dead. When Leon and Shenmei arrive to confront Jason, he explains his true goals, confirming Leon's suspicions. He doesn't care about truth and justice, only for the world to feel the same fear that he and his team suffered. He wants to escape the facility and present himself to the public. Shenmei reminds him about the chip, which they can still use to expose everything about Wilson's deeds. They can end this without more blood, but Jason doesn't listen. The man he was is gone. What remains is only the monster. Meanwhile, Claire realizes that the acid is rising, creeping closer to her chair, and with no time left, she struggles and leaps back. Using her skills, she sets herself free. At the same time, Jason rushes towards the roof, but Leon and Shenmei try to stop him. They fire at him, but the bullets are ineffective. Turning to them, Jason smashes the platform. Leon loses his footing, causing him to hang on for his life, but Shenmei just steps forward. She tries one last time to reach him, hoping to bring Jason back. But he only feels wrath, and in an unbelievable turn of events, he grabs Shenmei and snaps her neck, instantly killing her. Moments later, the platform Leon is holding onto gives way. He falls to a lower rig, and spotting Claire climbing towards safety, he goes to help pull her onto a higher platform. Up above, the president prepares to give his speech, but Patrick intercepts and delivers Leon's warning about Wilson. The president listens, trusting Leon. He throws Wilson's speech to the side and speaks from his own heart. Like a proper and righteous president, instead of threats, he calls for peace. He talks about rebuilding Panamstam and improving relations with other nations, including China, instead of trying to start wars, which would result in a massive human cost. Back below, Leon and Claire work together to stop Jason. Leon grabs a rocket launcher while Claire moves to the control panel. Jason nearly tears through the ceiling, but Leon stops him. So, he grabs him and for a moment stares at him, but chooses to spare Leon's life by not throwing him into the pool of acid. Once again, Jason tries to leave, but Leon gets up and quickly pulls the platform's lever, causing it to collapse and dropping Jason into the acid. It still doesn't kill him though. Jason, despite having been mostly melted away, clings on, warning Leon that this is not the end. However, seconds later, his heart gives out, and his body is completely consumed. Not long after, Leon reaches the surface. The president has finished his speech. From a distance, he thanks Leon, and Patrick pays respect to Leon too. However, Leon brushes that off and says, "It's just luck," referring to what Patrick said in the beginning. The next day, Claire visits Leon at the White House. She asks for the chip so that she can copy it and give it to the media. But for some reason, Leon refuses. Claire is disappointed and upset with him, saying that he's changed, acknowledging that they both are now going to have to tackle the powers that be in their own separate ways. However, we then see that Wilson is still alive, barely keeping it together with his inhibitors. But then, the cameraman zooms in on the table, and we see a box belonging to Tricell. It sucks that Season 2 got cancelled, but I enjoyed this miniseries because it really shows how the virus and the monetization of it has now begun to rot the very foundations of this world up into the international level.